The flickering candlelight danced across the meticulously set table. Crystal glasses polished to a gleam flanking the fine china. A bouquet of her favorite lily perfumed the air, their heady scent mixing with the aroma of the rosemary-crusted lamb roasting in the oven. It was our 10th anniversary, a milestone I'd envisioned celebrating with joy, not the gaping hollow that currently resided in my chest. I checked my watch for the 10th time in as many minutes. 8:17 p.m. She was late again. Lately, late had become the norm. Rushed off with flimsy excuses about work deadlines and unexpected meetings. Excuses I'd initially accepted, blinded by love and trust. But the whispers, the furtive glances, the lingering scent of unfamiliar cologne clinging to her clothes, they all painted a different picture. A picture I desperately tried to ignore. The key finally rattled the lock and the door swung open. Amelia stepped inside, her smile faltering as she took in the scene. "Wow," she breathed, her voice laced with surprise. "What's all this?" "Happy anniversary," I said, my voice carefully neutral. I watched her eyes scan the table, lingering a bit too long on the two-place settings. The blood drained from her face, leaving her looking pale and ghostly in the warm candlelight. "Oh," she stammered, her eyes darting toward the closed dining room door. I didn't realize. Didn't realize what, Melia?" I asked, my voice hardening. Before she could answer, the dining room door swung open and Paxton stepped out. Paxton, her colleague. Paxton, whose cologne I'd smelled on her scarf. He looked disheveled, his tie loosened, his face a mixture of confusion and dawning horror. Amelia's carefully constructed facade crumbled. "Daniel, I can explain." "Explain what?" I asked, my voice dangerously low. "Explain how you could do this to me? To us? It just happened," she whispered, her eyes pleading. "Happened?" I laughed, a harsh hollow sound. "Like a car accident? Like a sudden rainstorm? Infidelity doesn't just happen, Amelia. It's a choice. A series of choices. Choices you made while I was at home planning this. This pathetic attempt at a romantic dinner." I turned to Paxton, who was shifting uncomfortably from foot to foot. "And you?" I said, my voice dripping with contempt. "You knew she was married. You knew what you were doing." Paxton stammered something about not knowing the full extent of our relationship. A pathetic lie that only fueled my rage. I stepped toward him, my fist clenched. "Get out," I growled, my voice low and menacing. He didn't need telling twice. He practically scrambled out of the apartment, casting a terrified glance back at Amelia before disappearing into the night. I turned back to Amelia, who was standing frozen, her eyes wide with fear. The carefully arranged romantic setting now felt like a macabre joke. The lilies mocked us with their cloying sweetness, the flickering candles casting long, distorted shadows on the walls. "You lied to me," I said, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. "You betrayed me. You destroyed everything we built together." Tears streamed down her face, but I felt no pity, only a cold, empty ache where my love for her used to be. I'm sorry," she sobbed. "Sorry doesn't cut it, Amelia," I said, my voice flat. "Not even close." I walked over to the stereo and pressed play. The first chords of our wedding song filled the air, a cruel reminder of the vows we'd made, the promises she'd broken. I watched as her face contorted in pain, the music twisting the knife deeper into the wound. "This was our song," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "The song we danced to as husband and wife. The song that symbolized our love, our commitment. And you desecrated it." I picked up the framed photo from the mantelpiece. Our smiling faces stared back at us from our wedding day. I held it out to her. "Do you remember this day, Amelia?" I asked, my voice choked with emotion. "Do you remember the promises we made?" She nodded, her sobs racking her body. I smashed the frame against the wall, the glass shattering into a million pieces, just like our marriage. "Get out," I said, my voice devoid of any emotion. "Just get out." She didn't argue. She picked up her purse, her hands trembling, and walked out the door, leaving me standing alone amidst the wreckage of our shattered lives. The next few weeks were a blur of anger, grief, and disbelief. I barely ate, barely slept. I moved through life in a daze, the world around me seeming muted and unreal. I threw myself into work, using it as a distraction from the constant ache in my chest. I started seeing a therapist, trying to piece myself back together. Then one day I received an email. It was from Paxton's wife, Nora. She found out about the affair, about the carefully orchestrated anniversary dinner, about everything. She was devastated, heartbroken, furious, and she wanted revenge. We met for coffee. Two strangers united by a shared betrayal. We talked for hours, sharing our stories, our pain, our anger. And as we talked, a plan began to form. Paxton was a rising star in the financial world, a man with a carefully crafted image of success and integrity. Nora had access to his computer, his phone, his secrets. We worked together meticulously, gathering evidence of his shady dealings, his illicit affairs, his carefully constructed lies. We contacted his company anonymously, tipping them off about his fraudulent activities. We leaked information to the press, exposing his double life. We watched with grim satisfaction as his world crumbled around him. He lost his job, his reputation, his wife. He became a pariah, ostracized by the very people who had once lauded him. Amelia too faced the consequences of her actions. The whispers followed her, the judging eyes, the hushed conversations. She lost friends, respect, her sense of self. She tried to contact me, to apologize, to explain, but I refused to engage. The damage was done. Irreparable. My revenge wasn't about inflicting pain solely. It was about reclaiming my power, about taking back control of my life. It was about showing them and myself that I wouldn't be broken by the betrayal. Took time, but I eventually started to heal. I started to rebuild my life, brick by painful brick. I learned to trust again, to love again. I found happiness not in grand gestures and extravagant displays of affection, but in the small, quiet moments of genuine connection. I learned that true love wasn't about fairy tales and romantic dinners, but about honesty, respect, and unwavering loyalty. And as for Amelia and Paxton, I never saw them again. They became ghosts of the past, reminders of a painful chapter in my life. But they also became a catalyst for change, a painful lesson that ultimately led me to a stronger, more authentic version of myself. The scars remained, a permanent reminder of the betrayal I'd endured, but they were also a testament to my resilience, my strength, and my ability to rise from the ashes, stronger and more determined than ever before.